What if Mother isn't confusing, but too honest for comfort? Because once you stop asking what it means and start asking who it's about, the film stops feeling like a nightmare and starts feeling like a confession. Not of madness, but of a story we've told ourselves for thousands of years. A story about creation, about worship, about how love becomes entitlement the moment it forgets to listen. Mother is not chaos, it's scripture wearing the skin of a horror film. Genesis through Revelation retold from the only perspective the Bible rarely centers, the one that bleeds when the world is built. Jennifer Lawrence isn't just a woman trapped in a house. She is creation itself, Mother Earth, the body of the world. And Javier Bardem isn't just a poet chasing admiration. He is God, not the distant, thunderous figure of stained glass, but the intimate, needy, creative force who wants to be loved so badly he keeps choosing praise over protection. The house isn't a setting, it's the world. A fragile ecosystem she restores piece by piece, like a planet healing after disaster. Every wall she paints, every floor she fixes, feels like an act of devotion. Not to him, but to life itself. And yet from the first frame we feel the imbalance. He creates with words, she creates with hands. He is admired, she is exhausted. That tension becomes the heartbeat of the film. Then the strangers arrive. At first, just one man, coughing, dying, curious. Then his wife, invasive and unafraid. Adam and Eve stepping into Eden not as caretakers, but as guests who don't ask permission. The crystal in the poet's study is the forbidden fruit, the one boundary they were told not to cross, shattered the moment curiosity met entitlement. And when the sink breaks, flooding the house, it isn't just an accident, it's the fall. The moment innocence collapses under the weight of disobedience. From there, the film doesn't escalate. It reenacts. Two sons arrive. Jealousy turns into violence. Cain and Abel spill blood across the floor of creation while the parents watch in horror and denial. And just like scripture, death becomes the first legacy humanity leaves behind. Aronofsky traps us inside Mother's experience of it all. The camera never leaves her. Tight framing, handheld movement, no sweeping score to comfort us. The sound design is breath and footsteps and doors slamming where they shouldn't. We don't watch the story, we survive it with her. Every intrusion feels personal because to her it is. This isn't spectacle, it's violation filmed at eye level, and then the poet's work is published. Suddenly the house fills with people who love him but trample her. They praise his words while ignoring her pain. They touch what she built. They take what isn't theirs. Religion is born not from humility, but from obsession, from the human hunger to be close to God without listening to the world he placed us in. The crowds grow, devotion turns into institution turns into chaos, rules appear, power structures rise, violence becomes justified in the name of belief. And through it all, Mother pleads not for worship, but for space, for peace, for the right to exist without being consumed by the very people who claim to love the creator of her. Then she becomes pregnant, and for a moment, the film breathes. Hope enters the story like a fragile whisper, a promise that something pure might survive this cycle of damage. The child is Christ, not in robes or sermons, but in vulnerability. A life meant to redeem a world that never learned how to protect what it loves. When the baby is born, the house should become a sanctuary. Instead, it becomes an altar. The crowd takes him, lifts him up, breaks him, consumes him. And the moment is almost unbearable, not because it's shocking, but because it's familiar. Humanity destroying what it worships, turning salvation into spectacle, turning love into consumption. The Eucharist stripped of symbolism and shown for what it is in the ugliest interpretation, devotion that devours. Mother breaks then, and who could blame her? Creation finally refuses to be gentle with those who never learned gentleness themselves. Fire becomes her last language. The house burns, the world ends. Revelation arrives not as divine judgment, but as the natural consequence of endless exploitation. And still, God survives. He takes her heart, builds a new crystal, begins again, not because the cycle healed, but because he needs to be loved again. This is where Mother becomes truly unsettling, not in its violence, but in its theology. The film dares to ask a question we're rarely comfortable asking. What if God isn't cruel, just endlessly lonely? What if creation keeps suffering not because he hates it, but because he can't stop choosing admiration over responsibility? Psychologically, Mother is trapped in the role of the giver who is never allowed to rest. Morally, she is the victim of love that turned into ownership. Spiritually, she is the embodiment of a world that keeps being sacrificed so others can feel closer to heaven. And maybe that's why the film feels so suffocating. Because it doesn't let us hide behind metaphor. It forces us to feel what the planet feels. To experience humanity not as the hero of the story, but as the crowd at the foot of the altar, loud with praise, careless with hands. Aronofsky has said he wrote this film out of frustration, political frustration, environmental grief, the slow realization that we treat the world the same way the film treats Mother, like something that exists to serve, to suffer, to forgive endlessly without ever demanding change. And in that light, the final question of Mother isn't about symbolism, it's about accountability. Is God the hero of this story, or just another being who keeps choosing creation over compassion? Because if the cycle keeps repeating, if the house keeps burning, if Mother keeps dying so the world can begin again, then maybe the horror isn't that this story is biblical. Maybe the horror is that it's still happening. If this film made you uncomfortable, it did its job. If it made you angry, it understood you. And if it made you rethink a story you thought you already knew, then the conversation is just beginning. Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this kind of deep dive speaks to you, like the video and subscribe for more journeys into the shadows behind the stories. Until next time.